What if the life you've been living isn't even yours? What if tonight, in the sacred silence between one breath and the next, you finally take it back? You are not going to sleep. You are going to war, a quiet sovereign war, against every lie that has ever told you that you are not enough. This is a journey of wealth reprogramming, built upon the eternal foundation of the law of the word. Tonight you do not close your eyes to escape the world. You close them to build a new one. You are stepping into what is known as the divine workshop, a sanctuary beyond the reach of doubt, a space where the heavy chains of financial struggle are dissolved and your destiny is rewritten in the language of gold and light. Tonight you stop being a passenger in your life and you become the architect. Tonight you speak to the substance of the universe, not as a beggar, but as the authority you were always intended to be. By the time you wake from this immersion, something fundamental will have shifted. You will hold within you the sacred keys that unlock the doors to infinite supply, keys that have been hidden behind the noise of your waking hours, but are now finally ready to be claimed. We are working with spiritual principles that operate with the precision of a natural law. As you surrender to this process, you are inviting your consciousness to move from the frequency of wanting toward the frequency of having. The aim of this immersion is for you to wake with a deepened realization that you and your wealth are fundamentally one and the same. Before we begin this descent, if this message resonates with your spirit, gently tap the like button and subscribe so these teachings can continue to find you. If you are ready for a new reality, declare it in the comments by writing, "I enter into the sacred covenant of 21 nights." This is your contract with your future self. Tonight, something extraordinary is unfolding in the silence. In the early 20th century, the legendary Florence Scovel Shinn spoke of the fourth dimension and the superconscious mind. She was a pioneer of the invisible, teaching thousands how to navigate the unseen realms of belief to manifest tangible results in the seen world. In our modern world, we understand this as the miraculous bridge between your analytical brain and your subconscious depths, those states of theta and delta where the mind is most receptive to change. While the language has evolved to meet our modern understanding of how the mind works, the truth remains the same. When the conscious mind rests, the soul speaks. We are using the maps of modern science, the understanding of neuroplasticity and brainwave frequencies, to navigate the same spiritual oceans that Florence explored so masterfully. Tonight we bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern understanding. We are taking the timeless principles of the power of the spoken word and applying them to the very architecture of your mind. While your physical body rests in the stillness of the night, your consciousness is being completely reconstructed. Every limiting belief that was handed down to you like a tattered, ill-fitting garment, every jagged fear of scarcity that has acted as a dam against your natural flow, every whisper of unworthiness that has kept you playing small in a vast universe, all of it is being gathered up and cast into the nothingness from which it came. In its place, we are installing the divine truth that has stood the test of centuries. You are a child of the infinite. You are not poor. You have never been poor. You have simply been operating under a temporary veil of poverty consciousness. And tonight, that veil is being lifted. We are replacing it with a wealth identity, a state of being so rooted in abundance that money is drawn to you as naturally and as inevitably as the tide is drawn to the moon. Now let the world of doing fade away. For this work to begin, the vessel must be still. Feel the full weight of your body pressing into the bed beneath you. This is the gravity of grace. You are being held by the earth, and the earth is a part of the divine substance. There is no separation between you and the ground, and there is no separation between you and the wealth you seek. Relax the muscles of your face. Often we carry our financial stress in the jaw, the place where we bite back our fears and clench against the world. Let the jaw go slack. Let the forehead become smooth and wide like the surface of a still lake at midnight. Picture the noise of the day, the numbers, the voices, the frantic emails. Imagine them as a swarm of bees. Now watch them fly away further and further until the air around you is perfectly silent. Bring your awareness to your shoulders. This is where you have been carrying the luggage of not enough. It is the tension of the hustle. It is the false belief that you must fight for your life. Breathe into your shoulders now, and as you exhale, let them sink. You are no longer the doer. You are the receiver. Watch as those heavy bags of worry dissolve into a golden mist. Now feel your heart. This is your magnetic center. An engine cannot work if it is clogged with the silt of resentment. If you are angry at a past mistake or a system that felt rigged against you, let that anger go now. Not because it wasn't real, but because your heart needs the space for gold. You cannot hold a grudge and a miracle at the same time. Release the resentment on every exhale. Receive the opulence on every inhale. Picture a golden light at the base of your throat. This is the seat of the word. This is where your wand is kept. See this light growing brighter with every slow, shallow breath. You are a sovereign being, and tonight you are reclaiming your throne. Florence Scovel Shinn observed that the world is not something that happens to you, but something that is called forth by you. Most of us use our wands unconsciously, describing the very things we hate, and so they become our permanent reality. What if the reason you have not yet manifested the wealth you desire is not because you aren't working hard enough, but because you are literally speaking your lack into existence every single hour of your waking day? But tonight, the reporting ends. Tonight, the decree begins. You are entering the sacred threshold, that quiet, powerful space where the subconscious mind, finally freed from the resistance of the logical day self, becomes a perfect receiving station for unlimited prosperity. Picture yourself now standing at the edge of a great golden ocean. This is the ocean of divine substance. It is vast, sparkling, and infinite. It holds everything you could ever need. You are standing on the shore carrying those tattered bags of I can't. One by one, drop them into the sand. Cast the burden of financial worry upon the divine within you. You do not need to figure out how the money will come. The how is the business of the infinite. Your only assignment is to remain in the knowing that it is. Repeat these words in the sanctuary of your mind as you drift. I cast every burden of lack into the sea of nothingness. I am free to receive. I am open to have. I am a match for the opulence of the universe. As you move deeper into the night, your mind will become a divine blueprint. We are drafting a new reality. Trust the darkness. Trust the sleep. Trust that the law is working even when you cannot see the evidence with your physical eyes. Your wealth is a mathematical certainty. By the end of this journey, you will have moved from a state of chasing to a state of being. Listen closely, beloved. You are a child of the infinite. The infinite does not know lack. The infinite does not know debt. As you sleep tonight, you are reclaiming your inheritance. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my divine supply. Let the manifest gold of the universe flow into my life in a perfect way under grace for the good of all. I do not ask for a portion. I claim the whole. My word is my want. Every word I speak tonight creates a highway of abundance. I'm no longer blocked by the boulders of fear. I'm the flow itself. I'm divinely guided to my perfect place, doing my perfect work for the perfect pay. My work is a blessing to the world, and the world responds by blessing me with wealth. Money is a servant of my will. It comes to me in avalanches of abundance. I use it with wisdom, with generosity, and with joy. I am a channel for the wealth of the infinite. The old story is dissolved. The red ink of the past is washed away by the gold light of the present. I am wealthy, I am free, I am home. Now let us walk together into the first great hall of your own consciousness. Beyond the physical room where your body rests, beyond the walls and the ceiling that shelter you through the night, there is a vast and silent architecture that belongs only to you. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the house of the soul. She understood that you do not truly live in a world made of brick and mortar. You live in a world constructed of thought, expectation, and vibration. If your inner house is cluttered with the broken furniture of fear and the thick dust of old debts, your outer life will inevitably reflect that same disorder. But tonight, the cleaning has begun. We are walking through the halls of the inner mansion to reclaim the sacred space where your wealth is born. Listen closely, for this is where the spiritual alchemy begins. In our modern world, we speak of brainwaves, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. They use these terms to describe the slowing of the mind. But in the language of the spirit, these are simply the different levels of your inner mansion. Right now, as the world of the day begins to fade into a distant memory, you are moving away from the front porch of your mind and into the deeper, more sacred chambers where the laws of man no longer apply. The front porch is the state of beta. This is the realm of the five senses. It is the noisiest part of your existence. On the front porch, you see the balance in your account and your heart sinks. You hear the news of a struggling economy, and your stomach tightens. The front porch is crowded with the opinions of others, the memory of past mistakes, and the frantic, breathless need to make things happen through sheer physical force. Most people spend their entire lives on this porch shouting at the world, trying to bargain with life and begging for money to come to them. But money does not respond to shouting. Money does not respond to desperation. Money is a shy servant that only responds to the quiet, unshakable authority of the inner chambers. As you breathe, feel yourself moving away from that noisy porch. You're closing the heavy open door on the distractions of the day. You're entering the hall of Alpha. This is the space of the gentle evening. In this hall, the sharp, jagged edges of your problems begin to soften. The cold logic that told you there is no way out starts to feel less certain, less permanent. Here the lantern of the imagination begins to glow with a warm, golden light. This is the place where you start to realize that the infinite spirit is infinitely larger than any bank statement or any debt. In the hall of Alpha, you are no longer a victim. You are a visionary. But here is the truth you must understand to proceed further. You cannot enter the deeper, more powerful halls if you are still carrying the heavy sword of resistance. This is the great secret that Florence shared with the world, the law of non-resistance. She famously taught, resist not evil, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. In the realm of finance, what we call evil is simply the appearance of lack. It is the unpaid bill. It is the lost opportunity. It is the fear that there will not be enough for tomorrow. When you resist these things, when you hate them, when you fight against them with anger, and when you worry over them with a panicked heart, you are actually tying them to you with chains of steel. Resistance is the strongest of spiritual glues. If you are angry at your lack, you are giving that lack your most precious resource, your focused attention. And whatever you give your focused attention to, you multiply to enter the inner mansion of wealth. You must drop the sword. You must become non-resistant. This does not mean you are weak or passive. It means you are so certain of your divine supply that the current appearance of lack does not move you. You look at the debt and you say, I see you, shadow, but you have no substance. My infinite spirit is my substance. You look at the empty space where the money should be and you say, this is not a void. It is the fertile ground where my gold is currently forming under the surface. You move through the world with the poise of a person who knows the check is already in the mail. Now let us speak of the one error that keeps the gate of the mansion locked tight. It is the error of trying to see the physical how. Your logical mind is obsessed with the map. It wants to know exactly which person will call, which job will open, and which investment will turn in your favor. But the how is none of your business. The how is the exclusive business of the infinite spirit. When you try to figure out the how, you are standing in the doorway of your own mansion, physically blocking your supply from entering. The divine architecture does not work like a human business. It does not need a logical path of cause and effect. It creates its own paths through the wilderness. Florence taught us the divine supply is never too late and never too early. It is always perfectly on time, and it has thousands of ways of reaching you that you could not imagine in 1,000 years of thinking. Your only job is to stay in the hall of expectancy. Consider the story of an individual named Avery. Avery was a talented professional who had reached a complete standstill. Every project Avery touched seemed to dry up at the last moment. Avery was a person of great skill, but Avery was living in a state of fierce, constant resistance. Avery fought with competitors in the mind, resented the rising costs of the city, and woke up every morning with a clenched jaw, ready to do battle for every single dollar. Avery was a master of the hustle, but the hustle was producing nothing but gray hairs and an empty heart. Avery came to understand the law of non-resistance and realized that the clenched jaw was the very thing closing the doors of opportunity. Avery began a radical practice of releasing the fight. Avery would sit in the silence of this inner mansion and say, Infinite Spirit, I no longer fight my circumstances. I am a non-resistant being. I stand still and see the salvation of the law. I give thanks that my good now reaches me in a perfect way under grace. At first, Avery felt a strange sense of panic. The old logic screamed, if you don't fight, you will lose everything. But the law is exact. As Avery stopped resisting the world stopped resisting Avery. A former rival reached out with a proposal for a joint venture that was more lucrative than anything Avery had ever tried to build through struggle. Opportunities began to flow like a river because Avery was no longer a jagged rock blocking the stream. Avery had become the water itself. Avery moved from the front porch of struggle into the hall of alpha, where the vision of plenty was finally allowed to breathe. As you move deeper, you are now entering the hall of theta. This is the chamber of the subconscious. In the physical world, they call this the state of deep relaxation, the magical threshold of sleep. But in the inner mansion, this is the divine workshop. This is the place where the word becomes flesh and the thought becomes the thing. When you are in the hall of theta, your critical mind, that noisy sentry that stood on the front porch, is finally asleep. It can no longer argue with you. It can no longer say that's impossible. The walls between you and the infinite spirit are now as thin as a veil of silk. In this workshop, you are currently rewriting the very code of your financial reality. Imagine yourself now sitting at a grand mahogany desk in the absolute center of this hall. The air is cool and still. Before you lies the ledger of your life. For years, this ledger has been filled with the jagged red ink of not enough. You can see the entries for debt, fear, and hard labor. But now look at your hand. You are holding a pen made of pure golden light. This is the pen of the spoken word. With this pen, you are crossing out the old entries. You are striking a bold line through the word debt. You are erasing the word struggle. You are dissolving the word limitation. And in their place, you are writing in steady, beautiful letters. Prosperity, unlimited flow, divine rebate, avalanches of abundance. Listen closely, beloved, for this is the key. The subconscious mind is a faithful servant. It does not have a sense of humor. It does not judge whether what you write is realistic. Whatever you write in the hall of theta, it accepts as the new and absolute law of your existence. If you write, I am wealthy, it immediately begins to rearrange the atoms of your life to make that sentence a physical fact. But you must be still. You must be non-resistant. There's a story of a traveler who was carrying a heavy pack on their back while walking along a long, dusty road. A man in a beautiful carriage pulled up and offered the traveler a ride. The traveler climbed in, grateful for the seat, but kept the heavy pack strapped tightly to their shoulders. The man in the carriage looked back and asked, "Why don't you set your pack down on the floor?" The traveler replied, "Oh, it's enough that you are carrying me. I couldn't possibly ask you to carry my pack as well." Most people are exactly like this traveler. They say they trust the infinite spirit. They say they believe in the law, but they keep the pack of worry strapped to their shoulders. They lie in bed and try to solve the problems of next year. Tonight, I am asking you to set the pack down. Let the carriage carry you and let it carry your pack. Cast the burden of the how onto the floor of the divine workshop. You are in the hall of theta. Now the work is being done by a power that knows how to turn a seed into a forest. Now move your awareness into the hall of delta. This is the great silence. This is the deepest part of the mansion. The place where the you that has a name and a history fades away, and you become completely one with the divine substance. In this hall there are no words, for words are too small. There is only being. In the hall of delta you are an atom of the infinite, and the infinite is opulent beyond human comprehension. Look at the stars in the midnight sky, billions upon billions of suns, far more than any human could ever count. Look at the leaves on a single oak tree, the grains of sand on a single beach. The divine does not know the meaning of just enough. The divine only knows overflow. When you rest in the great silence of delta, you are bathing in the very substance of wealth itself. You are soaking it in through your spirit, through your soul, and through your very cells. You are realizing the most profound truth of all. You do not have to get wealth from the outside world. You are made of the very same stuff that wealth is made of. You are a piece of the gold. You are a wave in the ocean of opulence. In this hall, you are being remagnetized. But here is the warning you must heed. You must be a good steward of this silence. When you eventually wake from this mansion, the world will try to drag you back to the front porch. The news will scream about a shortage. In those moments, you must remember the halls. You must say to yourself, I am not on the porch. I am in the mansion. I am a non-resistant being. I do not fight the shadow of lack. I turn my face toward the sun of supply. Consider the gardener. A gardener does not stand over the soil and scream at the seeds to grow faster. They plant the seed and then they walk away in the absolute knowing that the law of growth is already at work. Tonight you are both the gardener and the seed. Your word is the seed. Your subconscious is the fertile soil. And these sacred hours are the darkness where the growth happens. Everything you have ever desired is already in this mansion. It is not being built. It is being unveiled. I am a non-resistant being. My good now reaches me in a perfect way. The sentry is asleep. The gate is open. I am in the divine workshop. My reality is being rewritten in gold. I am not my bank account. I am the infinite supply. Every dollar I spend returns to me multiplied. I am a channel of the divine circulation. I cast the burden of how onto the infinite spirit. I stay in the knowing my good is reaching me now under grace and in a perfect way. Listen closely, beloved, for we now move into the chamber of the Great Reset. Florence Scovel Shinn taught a truth that acts as a profound solvent for every financial chain. She said that there is no loss in the divine mind. Therefore, there can be no loss in your reality unless your own word decrees it. So, she often reminded us that no man is your enemy and no man is your friend, but every man is your teacher. Tonight, we must look at the teacher of debt and lack, and we must graduate from its school forever. In the ancient spiritual laws, there was a season called the Jubilee. It was a time when all debts were cancelled, all prisoners were set free, and every individual was returned to their original state of opulence. Many believed this was merely a historical event, a tradition of a forgotten time. But Florence taught us that the Jubilee is a permanent state of consciousness. It is the law of forgiveness in action. To forgive means to give for. You give a thought of abundance for a thought of lack. You give a word of success for a word of failure. You give the realization of your divine inheritance for the weary memory of your human struggle. But here's the truth you must understand as you drift deeper. You cannot enter your Jubilee while you are still carrying the heavy weight of the past. Most seekers are held back not by the world but by their own memory. They have what we call a debt consciousness. They wake up and they reap the harvest of yesterday's worries. They feel they are being punished for past financial errors, or that they must pay a price for old mistakes. But Florence taught that the law of God is a law of forgiveness. When you change your word, you neutralize the karma of your old debts. You step out from under the law of hard labor and into the law of grace. Consider the story of an individual named Elena. Elena was a person who felt they were walking through a desert that would never end. Elena was buried under a mountain of debt that felt as solid and immovable as stone. Elena had made a series of investments that had soured, and there was a deep biting shame attached to those choices. Every night, Elena would lie in the dark and tell the subconscious, "I was a fool. I am paying for my ignorance. I will be in this hole for the rest of my life." If these teachings have stirred something within you, Florence Scovel Shinn's wisdom is waiting to guide you further. Subscribe to Scovel Spirit Daily so you never miss a night of this sacred work. And in the comments below, let the community witness your declaration. Write the words that seal your new covenant. Your comment is your commitment. Your future self is already grateful.